Committee heading to full Senate vote. We have the latest on his hearing.
And our very own Ben Berquam joined immigration officials on a few ride-alongs of their recent raids in Chicago and New York. We'll discuss what his experience was like.
And recently pardoned J6 prisoner Rachel Powell joins us to talk about life after prison. All that and much more right now on Special Report.
And welcome in to Special Report. I'm Michelle Backus alongside Beau, Davidson, and Emily Finn. Well, today, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is at the White House for a meeting with President Trump. Now, Netanyahu is Trump's first visit with a foreign leader. We are waiting a joint press conference that will happen later today, and we'll be sure to tune right into that once it takes place.
And also happening today, RFK Jr. has just been approved by the Senate Finance Committee as the next Secretary of Health and Human Services, advancing his nomination to a full Senate vote. The vote was 14-13, with Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy casting the decisive vote in favor. Elizabeth Warren was quick to argue this decision. Take a listen.
Stated, this is not only about a private company that gets sued and has to pay out. Vaccine manufacturers often operate on very slim profit margins. If they get sued repeatedly and successfully, they simply move out of the vaccine space. We've already seen this happen with vaccines in the past. 20 years ago, we watched vaccines just move away if they did not have protection from these kinds of lawsuits. The consequence of Mr. Kennedy's ability to make those lawsuits easier is also the ability to shut down access and manufacturing for vaccines for every one of us. And I think that's it.
And another top story we're following, Doug Collins was also just confirmed to lead the Department of Veteran Affairs. Just less than 2 hours ago, the Senate Intelligence Committee voted to advance the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard to be the Director of National Intelligence. This was a huge hurdle to overcome, and she'll now move on to a full Senate vote.
And just last week, President Trump took executive action to protect children against transgender surgeries. Now, hospitals across the country are downsizing their, quote, gender-affirming care programs. Yes, you heard that correctly.
One father who can speak firsthand on the issue is Harrison Tinsley, who just won full custody of her son after his mother tried to raise him as non-binary. Harrison, what is your reaction to Trump's executive order?
It's an absolute dream come true. You know, promises made, promises kept. It's so unbelievably amazing to see that. The best 2 weeks of a presidency I've ever seen. And I just wanted to keep going. I hear chatter about a possible another executive order tomorrow demolishing gender ideology. And quite frankly, we need to get Congress to pass a law to classify this as child abuse and make it so that kids are no longer being sterilized for life.
So, Harrison, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about your journey in winning custody of your son and ultimately why you needed custody of your son.
Yeah, well, basically, his mom just tried to keep him from me, and I fought as hard as I could. I won half custody when he was around 1.5 years old. I didn't meet him until he was 15 months old. That was a tragedy, but it made me stronger warrior for this fight to protect kids. And once I won half custody, his mom tried to pretend he was non-binary. She'd put him on dresses, not let him go on rides at Disneyland unless he wore princess shoes when he didn't want to. He would fight with her on it, say, I'm a boy. And she would just keep trying to push on him for years. And I brought it to family court's attention, had trials. She was arrested. And then thankfully, last year, I was able to obtain full custody of him. And now he's safe and sound with me. And it's the most incredible dream come true. But we have to keep fighting because there's so many parents and so many kids being hurt by this.
Harrison, we now have multiple reports that Trump is set to sign another executive order keeping men out of women's sports. What kind of impact do you think that will have?
I think it'll impact the country in the best way possible. You know, you see Riley Gaines speak up, all these wonderful people. It's insane that women wouldn't have their spaces protected. They're vulnerable. This is insanity. We're protecting men's delusions over real girls. And yeah, I mean, protect women and children. That's like the basic idea of a society. That's what you learn growing up.
So, Harrison, you're from California, which is a pretty prominent state for things like this. Of course, a blue state, a woke state, nonetheless. How common do you think this is, though? I mean, have you encountered other situations similar to yours?
Yeah, I have parents reach out to me almost daily about losing custody where one parent's trying to trans the kid. I know the schools around here in the Bay Area, a lot of kids are pretending they're trans or non-binary or whatever weird terms they have nowadays. It's extremely common, though. I will say there's this big momentum against it. Everyone I meet seems to be frivolously against it, and they completely want this ended. They don't want their children near it, learning about it. You know, these schools will trans your kid behind your back, give them a dress and a fake name, and keep it from the parents. We have to just eradicate this completely.
Harrison, speaking of California, I was actually watching the LA Fire Aid concert, and Pink, the singer Pink, was introducing John Mayer, and she said, "Ladies and gentlemen, and people of all genders that absolutely exist." It was hard for me to imagine that at a benefit concert for people who've lost their lives in the fires, that she's more concerned about the genders that absolutely exist. I don't know if you saw that or not, but what's your reaction to something like that when a celebrity takes a stand for something that has nothing to do with people living or dying, especially in a tragic fire in California?
Well, it's a tragedy because someone like Pink, you know, has so much influence over so many young people, and it's just confusing them. And quite frankly, we need to just make this, shame people that push things like this. It's not okay. We're not going to let you sterilize kids anymore. We're done with this. The gender insanity is going to end. We're stopping it in the next few years completely. Obviously people's houses burning is so much more important, and it's just sad that people have bought into this so much, but I really do feel that we have the high ground on this one, and that most people, most normal Americans, even in California, want this to end completely.
Harrison, what don't people understand about gender affirming care and the intricacies of it and what it can do to children?
I think a lot of people don't understand how barbaric it really is if they see the pictures of the procedures and the things that, you know, these kids have to do to continue it. They become lifelong big pharma patients. A lot of them get sterilized for life. They can never have children of their own. A lot of them end up regretting it. You know, you see detransitioners like Laura Becker, Chloe Cole. There's just countless examples, and it's a tragedy. And I don't know how anyone can see and hear these stories and keep pushing this ideology. There's so much to it. It's just terrifying that we do this to children. Like, we don't affirm any other delusions. You don't affirm when your kid says he's Spider-Man and let him swing off of buildings, you know, or your daughter's anorexic. You don't make her not eat dinner. It's the craziest thing we've ever done. It's one of the greatest evils of our time, and we need to be the ones to step up and stop it.
Just to follow up, what was the rationale for the child, the mother of your child? What was her rationale for doing all this?
There was no clear, concise rationale for her pushing that other than, I think, her own wishes. Maybe she wanted to look cool on social media or something. I obviously cannot speak for her. I can tell you there was also a post, the first time she posted that she was pregnant on social media, she said, "Baby Sawyer due in December. I'll love you whether you're a boy or girl or neither." So it seemed kind of pre-planned to me, not anything to do with what the child wanted. My son knows he's a boy. He always has, and I'm thankful for that. And he's a brave kid, and he's just doing great, and it's not going to work.
Harrison, what you said reminded me of, I did a show once with someone who had this same kind of mentality. And I remember what the lady said to her daughter was, when she was actually, a little girl was actually looking at me and playing with me, was, "Well, you know what, little girl, you can love boys, you can love girls, you can love whoever you want." And I feel like that kind of mentality is what you're talking about. Instilling in a kid, when they're at that tender age, that somehow they can put this dogma inside of them. And frankly, I find that to be a form of child abuse. Would you see it kind of the same way?
It's absolutely child abuse, and it needs to be classified as such legally. And you're right. It is like almost like this play on, we tell kids when they're growing up, you can be anything you want to be, meaning like you could be an astronaut or president or firefighter, construction worker, Green Beret, right? All these cool things. But we've taken it to this, you can be whatever you want in some sort of way. Like you could actually be a girl when you're a boy, and the reality is you can't. Every cell in your body, XX or XY, boys are boys, girls are girls, men are men, women are women. And we just can't let these confusing, crazy ideologies like hurt kids the way they have. We're talking tens of thousands of kids have been literally mutilated. But what world are we living in?
Harrison, you're also featured in a docu-series titled Identity Crisis. Tell us about that, and also where viewers can find it.
Yeah, it's on DailyWirePlus.com. It's an amazing movie. I'm so thankful to be part of it. It really will bring to light, like when you asked me earlier, what people don't understand about it. It'll show you some of the procedures and some of the detransitioners and the stories of parents like me and Adam losing custody. And it'll really just open your eyes to how serious and how prevalent this is in society right now.
It's interesting, Harris, when you talked about the choice and saying, you tell kids you can be whatever you want to be. They're always focused on the choice of what gender kids want to choose. But what happens exactly what you said when it's irreversible? And then at that point as an adult, they can't reverse it. There is no choice. What about the choice then?
That's exactly right. There is no choice after that. It's irreversible damage that's happening, and a lot of them will never have children. They'll have scars for the rest of their life. They won't be able to breastfeed their children, etc. And that's why children cannot consent to a lifelong decision like that, where they can never, there's a reason there's a consent age for everything, whether it's going to war, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, etc. And yet those are smaller choices even than this crazy one of, being sterilized for life. We cannot let children make decisions that will alter them for their whole lifetime. That's why they're children. Parents have to, speak up for them, protect them. We need more parents, more people speaking up to the reality of this horror that's gender ideology.
Harrison, what would you tell any parents that might be dealing with a similar situation at home right now with their children?
Tell your kids the truth. Love them with all your heart. Guide them. Do not affirm delusions. Have courage, and you'll be able to save them from this. You'll absolutely be able to, look them in the eyes. Just make sure when you look them in the eyes, you can tell them that you did everything you could for them. Do not let them buy into this. No matter what counselors or teachers tell you, you have to. Don't listen to them. The right thing to do is tell them that they were made perfectly by God to be a boy or girl, and that can never change.
Harrison, thank you. I wish we had more time. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you soon. All right, don't go anywhere. Rav's White House correspondent Brian Glenn joins us live from the White House. We're back in just a moment.
Hey, America. Listen up. Car repairs are seeing record highs. They've seen a nearly 50% increase in recent years due to a shortage of car parts and workers, and that number is still rising. With more drivers choosing to keep their cars longer, that means a lot of out-of-warranty drivers are getting hit with expensive repair bills. If this is you, you're risking paying thousands when your vehicle breaks down. Or you could call CarShield now to help save big on your next covered repair. CarShield offers low month-to-month plans that have helped save drivers thousands on car repairs. These plans help protect your car, truck, or SUV, and up to 5,000 parts and systems. Look at how much these repairs could cost. Just listen to how much these customers saved.
I've been a CarShield customer for more than 2 years. I've filed 4 claims and saved nearly almost $7,000.
I've been a CarShield customer for over 4 years. I've saved over $3,000 covering 2 cars, and I couldn't be happier.
Car repair costs are currently at an all-time high. Don't run the risk of having to pay out of pocket. Call CarShield right now and get their price lock guarantee, where your price never goes up as long as you cover your car.
Saving drivers money on car repairs with CarShield is only the beginning. Plans go the extra mile and include 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance, all at no additional cost to you.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
Avoid the skyrocketing costs and call to speak to an expert now. Together, you can find the plan that works for you in just minutes. Don't wait. You have to call before your car breaks down, or it's too late.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's not a matter of if, but when your car will break down. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-853-6533. 800-853-6533.
While we may have won this election, the fight to restore our great nation is only just beginning. Now is the time to take a stand, and Patriot Mobile is leading the charge as America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Patriot Mobile offers a way to vote with your wallet without compromising on quality or convenience. Patriot Mobile isn't just about providing exceptional cell phone service, it's a call to action to defend our rights and freedoms. With Patriot Mobile, you'll get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all 3 major networks.
If you have cell phone service today, you can get cell phone service with Patriot Patriot Mobile with a coverage guarantee. But the difference is every dollar you spend supports the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and our veterans and first responders. Switching is easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer support team will help you find the perfect plan. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT and get a free month of service with promo code RAV. Switch to Patriot Mobile today and defend freedom with every call and text you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT.
All right. Welcome back to Special Report. We are going to check in with our very own Brian Glenn, who is at the White House right now. Brian, tell us, what are you seeing there around you?
Well, Emily, let me step aside, as it looks like we'd be getting fairly close to having the Prime Minister make his way through here. This is the entryway to the White House. It's a long driveway. It's going to go up to about the West Wing, and I'll keep an eye on that front gate. Tony, if you want to quickly pan, we'll show the viewers at home exactly what that will look like. But he's going to come in towards the West Wing. President Trump will greet the Prime Minister at that point, and then they have some meetings scheduled. So they'll go inside in about 5:10. Well, originally around 5:10, there was a kind of a joint press conference with the Prime Minister and President Trump to take questions and talk about their meeting here at the White House. I'm just trying to keep an eye on everything. But as you can see, the presentation here from the Trump team is like you would expect. And I was talking to some reporters that have been here during the Biden administration. They said, look, every time we've had a leader come to this White House, we have never seen the pageantry that we have here today. I think that shows a lot of respect that President Trump has, not only for this country, but also when he has world leaders visit. He really wants to, put on the show and welcome them on the highest order.
Brian, I got a question for you. You know, I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about what you think these two leaders are going to discuss today. I understand that there's concern among Israelis, and I'm sure among the Prime Minister, that some of the hostages, the Palestinian ones that they're having to give back as part of this ceasefire, are really bad eggs, bad apples, some of whom have 10, 15, 20-year life sentences, really, really bad people. Is that a concern that you're sensing that Prime Minister Netanyahu may present today, and also perhaps present a right to return to fighting if he feels the need to?
That is an excellent point. I have heard that and from several sources that was a big concern. Obviously, and I think that's you would expect someone to be concerned about something like that, because you definitely don't want to send some of those bad apples back into the war. But I would imagine that will be discussed here at this summit. And of course, this is huge for President Trump as far as his legacy. He ran. That was one of his campaign messages was running about establishing this peace in the Middle East. And also, I think for Benjamin Netanyahu, this goes a lot about his legacy as well. And this is something that will go down in history. There's a lot of people that are challenging him for leadership there. So this is a big moment for both countries. And, we can really thank President Trump for, once again, kind of delivering a promise, if you will, on the campaign as far as bringing these two countries together. And let's see if we can't get a peace deal worked out. But as you can see here, I will say this is a very interesting situation right now. The amount of media, and I don't know if you can turn the camera real quickly, Tony. Let's show the amount of press that is assembled here today, and see if we can push in tight. Like I said, over the last week and a half since I've been here, I have been really, kind of asking questions of like what it's like under this Trump administration, what the media coverage has been compared to the Biden administration, and it is absolutely night and day as far as the amount of people, the amount of press, the international press that's here on a daily basis is something that they have never seen before. And of course, not only because of the stuff obviously that's going on in the Middle East, but just you've got Ukraine, you've got all the other conflicts around the world. It is certainly all eyes of the world is on the White House right now in this administration. And just look at the news cycle that we've had the last, 2 weeks. My goodness, every single day, executive orders being delivered and negotiations being made under the tariff with Canada and Mexico and China. It just seems like we should all pick up a copy of The Art of the Deal and figure out how we can all pretty much solve the problems in our life, because President Trump is definitely doing a fantastic job. If you're wondering about protesters here, I don't know if you can hear it on the Nat mic that we have, but just there is a sizable amount of protesters just outside the White House here. As you can imagine, yesterday and the day before, the last 2 days, I should say, they've been putting up more of your, what I call a January 6th style fencing around the exterior outside the Eisenhower building to kind of keep people from the street coming in. They've still got, I do hear a motorcade coming. Let me make sure. Want to make sure we don't miss this, as we're live right here at the White House waiting for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to come through here. But the security around this area in the last couple days has intensified. We've got more, I would say, Secret Service, not only in D.C. Metro Police as well. Several blocks surrounding the White House. You can see them they're in the squad cars. You can see them on foot as well. And especially today, the presence outside here, as this entryway here, they're coming on public streets here. So I would imagine along the road here, there've been a sizable protest. They've got the signs, they got the sirens. You could perhaps hear that in the background as well. But just a moment here, and I think all of America is really backing this president for trying to finalize this peace agreement that's so important.
Yeah, it certainly is. This is a crucial moment there, Brian, and you're really painting a picture for us about how important this meeting is today. Netanyahu is, in fact, the first foreign leader of Trump's second term to be meeting with him at the White House. We so appreciate you showing us all of these images here today, and we will continue to tune in until the President Netanyahu does arrive at the White House. We'll be right back with more Special Report.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding, because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Wow is on sale now at Cabinets to Go.
It's our buy one, get one free sale. Get your dream kitchen for as low as just $155 per month. Hurry, this buy one, get one free sale ends soon.
Cabinets to Go. Wow for less.
In a crisis, your number one need is food. But here's the good news. 4 Patriots is offering a special buy one, get 2 free deal on its best-selling 72-hour survival food kits. Hurry, go to 4patriots.com now.
Welcome Welcome back to Special Report. We do want to check back in at the White House quickly, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just arrived at the White House. We want to check back in with our very own Brian Glenn to really set the scene for us about what's happening there. Brian, we were talking about how crucial this meeting, how crucial this moment is between President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister. Tell us more about what you're seeing there.
Well, in the last 90 seconds, the Prime Minister has pulled up in one vehicle, and there's a press van, this white Mercedes Sprinter van that you see that's behind it, members of his staff, Israeli media as well. They just got out. I saw President Trump just briefly walk out the door, put his hand kind of to greet the Prime Minister. At that point, they kind of shook hands, and now they're inside, ready for their meeting. So they're going to go to a brief meeting, and they had at 5:10. They had a kind of a joint press conference that we will have a camera there to cover that as well. But just kind of just quickly, I mean, there's a lot of pageantry waiting for this arrival, and it was a matter of minutes that it happened. So I kind of felt bad, just perfect timing as far as mistiming, I should say, as far as being a commercial break. But we'll continue our coverage here on the ground at the White House as talks resume here shortly, and we'll get back to you with the very latest what's going on here in D.C.
Brian, I know that Jared Kushner kind of had a pivotal role in the last administration. He's not going to be involved, I don't believe, at least as actively in this administration. But a special envoy to the Middle East is Steve Witkoff. That's obviously a close personal friend of the president's, but also a business associate. What can you tell us about what Steve Witkoff's role will be as a special envoy to the Middle East? Because he obviously has a special connection to Israel. Do you envision him being pivotal in some of these negotiations today? I know there's about a 45-minute or so closed-door meeting, so tell us what you can about him.
Yeah, from what I understand, he will be involved in these meetings, and he has been very pivotal to this point. I mean, to basically on phase one, and then going into kind of phase two of this negotiations, and coming up with a plan. He has been a key person in all of this, and he's a close ally of President Trump. Obviously, the last press conference we were at Mar-a-Lago, matter of fact, Trump pulled him up on stage and said how important he was in all of these negotiations. So, to your point, Beau, he's going to definitely have a key role in all of this. As you can see now, the military procession here is pulling out as they clear the way for us to go in for the brief meeting. Let's see if we can turn the camera real quick. Let's show them going up to the White House. A nice shot. A lot of the press has broken off to go into this preset area. We have to probably be there in the next 10, 15 minutes to get set up for that 5:10 press conference, and obviously the world is watching us, Beau, as all eyes are on the White House, and this is one of the key issues in this whole campaign.
Quite a scene.
The world is certainly watching there, Brian. We know that the Prime Minister is going to be staying through Saturday and will be meeting with other political leaders throughout the rest of the week. We know that you'll be bringing us the latest. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Meanwhile, protests are breaking out this week as ICE continues to crack down on criminal migrants across the U.S. In Los Angeles Monday, a movement calling themselves A Day Without Immigrants encouraged people to stay home from work, not spend money, and keep their kids home from school, all in protest of Trump's deportation efforts. The protest turned chaotic when a driver became reckless near the crowds of demonstrators. The city's mayor, Karen Bass, weighed in on X, saying, quote, "L.A. is a city of immigrants, and we will protect all of them."
Los Angeles isn't the only city where elected officials and law enforcement are pushing back on the federal government's immigration reform efforts. We want to welcome in Rav's very own Ben Berquam, the host of Law and Border. Ben, thanks for being with us. I know that you've been really actively inside of a lot of these operations. You've shadowed ICE officials during some of these operations in Chicago, which Border Czar Tom Homan has called ground zero for the operations. What can you tell us about your experience thus far?
Well, the main point that I've seen everywhere, and I was just in New York on a ride along this morning, and what I saw in New York was very similar to what I saw in Chicago, where you have these sanctuary policies, these sanctuary communities that are protecting illegal aliens at the expense of their own communities, and it makes it very difficult. You're basically tying one hand of ISIS behind their back and trying to catch these guys. So they're having to go out there into these communities, chase these guys down when they could have picked them up in the jails. You know, in Chicago, when we were there, every single one of the people that we caught that day had been previously apprehended, were incarcerated by either the Illinois Corrections Department or the Chicago Cook County Corrections, and all of them were let out. None of their detainers were granted, and the same is true in New York. And so ICE is having to go back out into the community to track these guys down and basically catch them again. And all of that while we have hundreds of thousands of more that are in this country, really millions more that need to be caught. And so it's just an incredibly vast, almost, to Border Patrols or to ICE's point, almost insurmountable number that they're having to do with limited resources. These guys they only have so many ICE agents. There are only so many law enforcement agents. But thank God for some of the red states where you have sheriffs and the 287G program that can help. But a lot more is going to have to be done in order to help ICE achieve their mission.
Absolutely, Ben. They are certainly just getting started on all of these deportation efforts. I believe we actually have a clip of your time in Chicago following along with these operations. Let's show our viewers that clip very quick.
We're in Chicago, Illinois. We're going to arrest public safety threats. We got all of government approach. We got U.S. Marshals, we got FBI, we got ATF, we got DEA, we got ICE, we got HSI. We got them all here. So the president's plan of all of government to attack illegal alien crime in this city, we're going to address it today, starting now.
We're going for. He's a citizen of Guatemala. He has a criminal history here for assault and battery with bodily harm. So our intent is to get in that area, get set up on it, and knock on that door and confirm that he's there. All right? Thank you. All right, any questions?
It's the tan house. So what happens in that case?
Even if they open the door, unless he comes out or they give us consent to enter their home.
Wow.
So we can't even reach in and pull them out.
Wow. So third target, we've got the suspect in custody. But you can just see how difficult this is, what these guys have to do in order just to get one apprehension. We've got Tom Holman, Dr. Phil back here.
We got that taken care of here. Put it on the chat, please. Give me a pin on the chat.
Send it to you? Or I'll send it to
you. So the big takeaway so far today is just the difficulty what these guys are tasked with, having to go in house by house, having to knock, wait to be let in, or the suspect coming out, when, as we were just talking to the agent, 95% of these guys could be picked up in the jail, but because of their sanctuary policy, they have to be out here in the streets going to get them. So all thanks to Joe Biden, the previous administration, and all of these leftist NGOs that are guiding that previous policy, and the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, sanctuary communities.
We got 3 new targets that were just sent out from our command center. Yep. Actually 9. Out of those 9, I went through them just to get the ones with the cars. Those are the ones we're going to prioritize right now.
So explain that again to me. A lot of these folks we're going after now?
Yeah, we have a lot of recent entries that were allowed in at the border, and when they were allowed in, they were released under conditions that did specify that while you're in the United States awaiting your court hearing or awaiting your application to be processed, that you must abide by the laws here, right? Cannot commit crimes or be convicted of crimes or anything like that. So during this operation right now, we do have a significant amount of cases where those subjects have committed crimes here in Chicago. And those crimes vary from retail theft to actually being part of South American theft groups. We got a lot of them going on up here, to actual violent crimes, using weapons and things like that. So when we do target these individuals and apprehend them, that custody that they were released under initially at the border is going to be redetermined now here, interior, by an immigration judge.
How big of a nightmare does this make for you, what they did in the last administration for your ability to do your job? Now that you have that many, we're talking, the numbers we're talking about.
Yeah, it's an overwhelming workload. That's the easiest way I can explain it, I think.
Well, Ben, we just have about a minute left with you, but I want to ask you about this because you just focused on Chicago. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has been defiant of the Trump administration's deportation plans. He's instructed law enforcement not to assist ICE and other border officials. Now, I know there's a difference between actively impeding this and then also just not assisting. But tell us more about how this complicates the efforts to expel criminal migrants.
Well, it makes it that much more difficult. He is aiding and abetting criminal activity in America. And so I think it really comes down to a Justice Department. Are they going to hold him accountable? I hope they do. I was actually riding with Elam Bovee, the acting Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General, or Deputy Attorney General. And he said that that's exactly what they're looking at doing, what they can do to go after Pritzker, go after Johnson, go after any of these mayors and governors that get in their way. And they clearly are. This is not just, it's not just getting out of the way and not helping. They are actively undermining ICE's ability to protect our communities.
And so ultimately that would be the Justice Department's decision to whether they could intervene into this and hold them accountable. Is that right, Ben?
That's correct. And there will be a fight. ICE has already told me there's going to be a fight. Talking to Bovee, there's going to be a fight. They're looking at going in, even if these ICE detainers aren't held, and pushing this federal issue, federalism, and going into these facilities to pick these guys up when they're not being complied with by the local or state officials. So there's going to be a reckoning coming at some point in the near future.
You're absolutely right. There will be a reckoning. Thanks so much, Ben. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with more Special Report. Stay tuned.
I didn't ask to lose my mother or to be abused at 5 years old. I didn't ask to be kicked out of my house with nowhere to go. I'm so sorry. I didn't ask for any of this. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there. Thanks to their love and support, and to generous people like you, I got what I needed to take control of my life.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or whether anyone cares about them. For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Call or go online now for a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. You can provide care to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night.
Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today. There's no Covenant House, where would I be today?
When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, most of all love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges, and their lives are transformed.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
Covenant House is changing the lives of young people in cities across America. Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Welcome back to Special Report. President Trump and the Democrats are keeping the news cycle busy, so let's get to the top breaking stories today. Well, as Doge continues to clean house, AOC has some choice words for Doge's Elon Musk. Just take a listen to this.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed. which, you know, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV. Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, like, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of. But the point is that what that means is that they're going to hit a button inevitably. They are going to hit a button and things can go
AOC calling Elon Musk not smart is rich. And Netflix, if you want a good idea, I say that we put them up against each other with an IQ test. Can you imagine how great that'd be? I would pay so much money. For reference, Elon just became the first person to reach a net worth of $400 billion amongst other accolades, as we all know. Guys, I would pay a lot of money to see AOC and Elon Musk go head to head for an IQ test.
That would be quite hilarious. And I must admit, I think the funniest part of that video was her losing her train of thought as she was trying to call him out for being stupid. He is doing so much to help our country, doing so much to get us into space, maybe even get us to Mars one day. And what has AOC done other than try to say that we have more than 2 genders? I don't know, you guys.
How many billionaires has she actually met, Michelle? Probably not that many. But okay, so you create SpaceX, a profitable company. You create Tesla. You create the boring
PayPal.
company. And you're going to say that this is the dumbest billionaire you've ever met? That just has no cohesion at all. It's not a cogent statement to make. So that's pretty pathetic. And, you know, in the next step to make America healthy again, RFK Jr. has cleared that initial Senate Finance Committee vote to a full floor vote for his confirmation. It was 14-13, right down to party lines, with Bill Cassidy expressing some concerns and doubts, but eventually giving his support to RFK. And this gives Kennedy a more favorable shot at confirmation with Cassidy's support. And Senator Tom Tell is saying he hopes Kennedy gets into HHS and goes wild. And no Democrat is expected to vote for Kennedy. And it's interesting, Michelle and Emily, that these Democrats are so concerned about RFK's vaccine stance when the information was clearly lacking in terms of the efficacy and potential harm of a certain mRNA vaccine just a few years ago.
How the tables have turned. But look, I always say this and I always go back to it, follow the money, because a lot of these Democratic politicians are getting paid big bucks by Big Pharma. And I think we all fail sometimes to remember just how powerful these pharmaceutical companies are.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Michelle. I think it's about time that we have someone come in, really clear house, really take a look at all of our healthcare throughout America. And I think RFK Jr. is the guy for the job. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what he gets.
Make America healthy again.
Yes, well said. Now, last headline that we want to get to today, Trump is set to become the first sitting president to attend the Super Bowl as preparations are underway for Sunday's big game. It's, of course, America's largest annual sporting event, and security measures will be even more strict with the high-profile commander-in-chief in attendance. The Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs will face off at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans at 6:30 p.m. Beau, Michelle, who do you think Trump is rooting for in Super Bowl 59?
That's a tough call, because on the one hand, you've got Kansas City and, you know, Brittany Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes' wife has been supportive of him. On the other side, you have Taylor Swift, who he doesn't care for very much and thinks her music sucks. So that's one element. On the other side, for the Philadelphia Eagles, the eagle, the symbol of America.
And he went to University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he went to Wharton, exactly. So I don't know who he's really going to vote for. I hope it's a good game. I hope it's not rigged. But I don't know who he's going to be rooting for.
You laid it out beautifully. I don't know. I mean, you penned the loyalty there. I would assume also he's a big fan of New York. Well, obviously not with what's happened there, but maybe New York's his team. I actually don't know his sports team. Do you guys know?
I am not too sure. But Michelle, I do have one last question for you, Super Bowl related. I know you are a Taylor Swift fan. Is she going to get proposed to if the Chiefs win?
You are going to get me canceled for that, Emily. Every time I bring up Taylor Swift. Listen, you can separate the music from the artist, okay? I think that's fair for me. But my friend and I were just having this conversation, and we don't know. There's also rumors going around that she could be pregnant. That was something we were tossing around earlier today. I still have doubts about the relationship, though. I don't know. I truly don't know.
I think it's all just a big conspiracy to get her to perform at the halftime show and to bring in more NFL fans. I really think that's what's going on. I wish it weren't, but I think that's what's going on.
Is she performing at the halftime show?
No, I think they're trying to woo her to do it.
That'd be cool if you think about it. Comes out from the stage.
It's Kendrick Lamar who just beat her out for Album of the Year and Record of the Year at the Grammys.
Oh, see that? Great to have a musician on board with us. All right, coming up, we'll speak with a January 6th victim who was pardoned by President Trump. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Allegiance Flag Supply believes American flags should be made in America.
Our symbol of freedom made outside our borders, that did not sit right.
Join us in our mission to keep the American flag truly American. Don't settle for flags made elsewhere.
Every flag is proudly crafted in the USA with superior materials.
Visit showallegiance.com to order your high-quality, made in America flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
When a cyber thief transfers the title of your home out of your name, it's a race against time to stop the theft of your hard-earned equity.
Many people don't know this has happened until long after it's done.
You as the homeowner think you still own a house. 3 months later, you start getting foreclosure notices and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house that you didn't even know existed.
So when's the last time you checked on the title to your home? Find out if you're already a victim at HomeTitleLock.com.
If anyone has told you that gaining weight, feeling tired, and struggling with nagging digestive and joint issues is just a part of getting older, they are wrong. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, and after years of struggling with these same issues, I found a new way to support my health at home by making one simple change to my diet. It's called BioComplete 3. BioComplete 3 works by restoring your gut health from the inside out. This is a major part of how I lost 70 pounds and have kept the weight off for 25 years. It's not just me. This is working for everybody. Joe helped his gut health, and you can see the changes, not just how he looks on the outside, but how much better he felt on the inside.
I was 270. I'm now 140. It just feels amazing. Thank you, Dr. Gundry.
I helped all these people achieve incredible changes to their weight, their digestion, even their skin. And for a limited time, you can try BioComplete 3 risk-free for 90 days. Go to guthealthsecret.com.
The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world, and it just stepped up enforcement for 2025. If you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, don't wait for the IRS to come after you. Simply avoiding your tax troubles is the worst thing you can do. Getting ahead of this is the smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Turn it over to the team at Tax Network USA. And why? Because not all tax resolution companies are the same.
Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS. This means that they know which agents to deal with and which to avoid. Tax Network USA has proven strategies that are designed to settle your tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. Their attorneys and negotiators have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists. It's free. Just stop the threatening letters, stop looking over your shoulder, and put your IRS troubles behind you once and for all. Call 1-800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV, tnusa.com/RAV, right there on the bottom of your screen.
And welcome back to Special Report. President Trump issued pardons to over 1,500 people who had been convicted from crimes related to January 6th. Trump made good on a promise to pardon those who he felt were treated unfairly in the events that day that led to many entering the Capitol building.
And one of those who was convicted was a mother of 8 children, separated from her family as she was in prison for breaking a window at the U.S. Capitol. Mind you, murderers roam free still. To discuss the entire ordeal, the prison conditions, and her recent pardon last week is Rachel Powell. Rachel, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Rachel, let's start at the beginning because it's important for context. You're a mother of 8. You decided to go to the Capitol on January 6th. What events transpired that led to your arrest and conviction?
Well, I went to the Capitol and, it clearly got out of control that day. And then there was a BOLO poster, which is just an information poster put out by the FBI. And when I saw that, I said, whoa, I need to get a lawyer right now. And so that's what I did. And he contacted DC. And then next thing I know, there's a warrant out for my arrest. And I'm stuck in the judicial system. And almost 5 years after 3 years of house arrest, and now I'm pardoned.
My gosh. And what was the crime you were charged with and the sentence given to you ultimately?
Well, I had 3 felonies and I had 6 misdemeanors. My worst felony was the 1512 obstruction charge, which was thrown out by the Supreme Court. They had given me 57 months for my sentence, but that would have changed drastically. I just had not been resentenced yet. My biggest issue was what everybody, it looks terrible and I'm sorry for it. I did break a window that day at the Capitol, but that's a misdemeanor charge. A window is a $600 window is a misdemeanor. So essentially, I spent time in federal prison for that misdemeanor.
And you were also in house arrest. And of course, I know that you did have to report to prison. Tell us a little bit about the conditions of the federal prison, especially since a lot of this was during COVID, and specifically about some transgender prisoners as well. Tell us what your experience was like.
I can't even describe to you how terrible the conditions are. It is a nightmare. It is something you would expect from a third world country. The roofs leak like a colander, catching the water in containers like garbage cans. That's what we would have to do. Cells that leak. There's no medical care. They're giving teeth cleanings from 2018. If you have a tooth problem, they're only going to help you if you need your tooth pulled. There are biological male inmates we were forced to house with, and we're sharing cells with people. So if you're forced to house with one, you're sharing a small cell you're locked into where you have to go to the bathroom and change in front of this person. All of the men that were in Hazleton prison with me were all sex offenders. One of them in there for selling a 9-year-old little girl, others for child pornography. Not men you want to be stuck in a small space with, especially as a woman. And I mean, everything was wrong. The food was wrong. The place was unsanitary. The multiple buildings with no hot water. So we had cold showers in winter before I left Hazleton.
And tell us about solitary confinement. Did you experience any of that as well?
They only put me in the shoe for a little bit, and it was just a couple hours I was in there, and the conditions were disgusting, filthy. I don't know what substance was on the toilet, balls of hair and dirt on the floor. Mat so thin you might as well have not had a mat to sleep on at all. Just totally disgusting.
And Rachel, as a mother of 8, how did it feel to be so estranged from your family and your children? Were there any visits, or did you get to speak to them often?
I have a wonderful family that has been so supportive through this whole thing. And I was blessed enough to get a visit from a family or friend almost weekly, which was wonderful. It was about nice. A 3-hour drive one way. The bad part about it is for the first 6 months of my stay at Hazleton, they refused to give me lunch every time I had a visitor. And they also put me through an extra unnecessary strip search, improperly done each and every time for the first 6 months. They said, do not have your family come visit you here. But of course, my family loves me, so that wasn't going to work, and they came anyways. And that's what I had to endure to see my family.
Once you saw that Donald Trump got reelected, I have to imagine it was music to your ears, and obviously 1,500 other people. How did it feel to receive that pardon last week?
It was a breath of fresh air. I mean, I knew something was coming. I trusted Trump was going to do something for us. I just didn't know what or how or when. I just didn't know. And so when it finally was happening, it's like, okay, the nightmare is over, not just for me, but for my whole family.
And what has life been like since you've been released and now reunited with your family?
Busy. I've hardly had a time to stop and think, which is fine, because when you're jumping back in, there's things that we have to deal with that most people don't consider. For me, I had to move, and now I'm getting to move again. And I have work to do on the house that I'm moving into. And then there's all the family gatherings and the friends gatherings. And of course, the world is curious what's happening. And then, I had no driver's license. Today, I just came from the sheriff's office trying to see if I can get my concealed carry permit, how far does a pardon reach? Am I still going to have a record? Can I get all my rights back? I'm still sorting through this, trying to figure it all out, and it takes time.
Yeah, I'm sure it takes some time to acclimate back. I'm curious, do you regret at this point going to the Capitol that day? And looking back, would you have done anything differently?
I don't regret going to the Capitol that day, but I do regret my actions. I think it would have been beautiful if we would have had thousands of patriotic citizens just sit down. Just sit down. I wish I could go back and just do that. And instead of getting sucked into the violence of that day and that out of control protest. But I can't go back. We can't go back. So all we can do is learn from our mistakes and move forward.
Going back to that day, did you notice anything was off, or there were people there that shouldn't be there? And if so, when did that kind of click for you?
Okay, I didn't notice people off, but I've been to a lot of protests. All through COVID in my state of Pennsylvania, I went to protest after protest because they were telling us who could work and who couldn't work, and I didn't agree with it. And so I've seen officers diffuse a situation. But at the Capitol that day, when we got there to the building, the police opened fire on us. And I don't understand. And of course, the bullets weren't real bullets. They're supposed to be little rubber bullets. But in that icy cold temperature, they were like rocks projecting down into the crowd. And none of us understood, why are they doing this to us? And then, of course, it was followed by the pepper spray and the flashbangs and batons. And it got out of control from there. But when that happened at the beginning, we were all standing on a public sidewalk and we hadn't passed this barricade that went all the way around the Capitol. And that's where the confusion came in. And again, I wish I could go back and I would have just sat down when it started to get out of control, but I can't change things. And, well.
Have you spoken to any of your other fellow J6 defendants about that day? Because there's obviously a considerable amount of time where you weren't able to talk to them. But I'm curious if you've spoken to any of them and if you expect that there will be in the next 4 years some sort of investigation or look back at this to see exactly what went wrong and whether there were instigators there that, have been hidden so far.
Well, I have spoken to January 6 people about this, and we do expect some investigations. The ones that I've spoken to have all been disappointed that the January 6th committee all got pardons before the Trump administration took over. But we're still hoping for some form of investigation because we would like to know what actually happened that day. Why wasn't the National Guard brought in? Why did the police behave in that way at the beginning? Is it just a lack of training, or is it something more nefarious? We don't know, and we don't have those answers, but it would be nice to know.
Rachel, this just came out. We have about 30 seconds left, but the FBI revealed that 5,000 out of their 13,000 agents were focused on the January 6th protesters, according to this report here. What's your reaction to that, having so much of this focused on essentially January 6th?
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, 39% of the entire bureau.
I just got to wonder, sometimes I wonder how people do their jobs. Is it just a paycheck for them? Did anybody in the FBI step back and say, hey, maybe we should be focused on other things? Did any of them say we can't do this? Or were they all just doing the job because they were doing their job for a paycheck? That bothers me the most out of it.
Rachel, thank you so much for being with us today.
Rachel.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you for watching today. Another great edition of Special Report. Be sure to check us out online and all the other Rav'S shows on iHeart Podcast.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash